A lot of young couples that seem to have this idea that there's one soulmate, for them. And so they get so caught up in finding that one soulmate that either they can't commit to a relationship or it affects, a marriage even.
I want you to put yourselves in the shoes of Rusty and Lori walking let's do it two ways. Number one, put yourself in the shoes of Rusty and Lori walking into ministry. What would you tell Rusty and Lori that point? And then maybe me. Think of Eric and I have been in ministry for 12 years now. What wisdom would you share with somebody like me as well?
Okay. And whose shoes am I wearing? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, okay.
She sounds like you, Rusty. That joke was so Rusty.
31 years.
It just melds
one
together.
ends and the other begins.
It's true.
That's right.
Okay. So advice for young couples in ministry?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Walking into ministry. Yeah.
Oh, I have so many little things. Okay. This isn't necessarily about ministry.
Okay.
You want me to go ahead?
Sure.
Okay. So just for new couples in general, Christian couples, I just really, Rusty and I were talking about this yesterday. I see a lot of young couples that seem to have this idea that there's one soulmate, for them. And so they get so caught up in finding that one soulmate that either they can't commit to a relationship.
Yeah.
Or it affects, a marriage even.
Yep.
So I think something that we were talking about is just the fact that, yes, praying about the person that God has for you, and when you find that person, you get married, just knowing that it's a choice and it's a commitment. And yes, of course, you want the attraction and the love there, but just not getting caught up into, okay, what if I'm at work and I'm married and I start to have feelings for somebody else? Well, then that must mean I've married the wrong person and this person's my true soulmate. So, I feel like that's just, something that is easy for young people today to get caught up in.
Absolutely. And I'll piggyback off of that idea of continually, daily choosing each other, regardless of the warm and fuzzies. And that is, the old advice from Andy Stanley of choosing to cheat.
Yeah.
And I think he's republished that under a different name now, but it's the idea of you're going to cheat work or cheat the family.
That's right.
So you get to pick one. And I just remember hearing that message early on in our marriage and after we had our first child. And he just said, cheat work. And so I remember having that conversation with Lori. Hey, what time of day would it be great if I were home? You know? And she's saying, well, the kids get up for their nap at 4, and that's when really the whole house falls apart. If you could be home by then, that would be great. So I would go to work earlier, even have meetings earlier, so I could be home at 4 and for the evenings as well, predetermining how many nights a week I'll be gone, telling your church, listen, I've made a commitment to honor my family, and so I'm only going to be gone so many nights. So there's some weeks I can't come to your small group or your Sunday school party or, the game or whatever it is. And if you say those things early on that you're going to choose your family, you think it will do irreparable harm to your church, but they'll actually honor it and appreciate that kind of mentality.
Yes.
So as Lori said, you're choosing your spouse every day. And I'd say choose your family every day as well.
That's right. That's really good.
Now, for the other one, for somebody that's been in ministry for a while, like yourself, I would just say that you continue, as your kids get older, you're beginning the process of saying goodbye. And I heard somebody say that you can have control or influence, but you can't have both.
Oof,
and as our kids leave home, we can try to control, but then we won't have influence.
Oh, that's so good.
So let them do their own thing, but still have influence in their life. Parenting is all this process of letting go. But I'd say that process of letting go of your kids is clinging tighter to each other. And for Lori and I, making this move to Texas was a great thing for us because we were the only ones we knew. And so we were already best friends, if I can
Yeah.
say that without being too cheesy. But, we didn't have a lot of things to do or with other people we knew. And so it was great for us to, hey, it's just you and me against the world right now.
That's right.
And it was a great thing for our marriage.
Yeah.
So keep finding things that you can discover about each other, and that you have a best friend even after the kids are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Perfectly said.
I love that. And if I can add a little bit to that as well, we are finishing a series called Intro to Adulting. And the idea was like let's start 2025 with wisdom around what does it look like to grow into the mature person God is calling each of us to be. And so that first week I talked about I'm sure you've seen this illustration, the big rocks principle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling our church of, man, if I want to make sure the priorities in which God has given me and blessed me with take precedent, I actually have to be intentional about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my priorities are my faith, my wife, my kids, and then the church. And so when we came to Summit, like I literally laid that out in front of, the congregation, in front of the board. I was very clear, guys, like if it comes between sacrificing you or my family, you're going to love you, but my family comes first. Right.
Yeah. It's great.
And so I think for couples coming in and for couples that are my age, at the end of the day, it's what are the priorities? And if you've set your priorities, and you are intentional about creating, P.D. Kinder would call them keystone habits around those priorities, the things you're doing to make sure those priorities are number one, then you're going to see God work in that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean there isn't going to be hard. Doesn't mean there aren't going to be sacrifices that need to be made. Doesn't mean there are hard decisions that aren't going to happen. But you will see God work in those keystone habits so that you can see that you can live out those priorities of your life. So walking in the ministry, fairly new, later on in ministry, absolutely. I would say, man, align those priorities early and often and keep repeating those habits so that those priorities remain number one in your life.
So good, Michael.
That is good.
That's great.
And also find, for young couples in ministry or even engaged couples that are going to be in ministry, find people older than you that have done, what you're going into that can provide wisdom for you. Because, these aren't just things that we came up with off the cuff. We've learned them over the years from other people.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.